call to order the meeting for June 21, 22. And Madam Clerk, roll call and posting of the agenda.
Councilmember Lopez,
Here.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Here.
Councilmember Perrello, Councilmember Tehran,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald,
Here.
Mayor Zaragoza.
Here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted at the City Hall Bulletin Board on June 9th. Thank you.
And Madam Clerk, Council Basua is not going to join us today. She's an excused absence.
Thank you, Mayor Zaragoza.
Okay, and next item is public comments. Do we have any public comments on this item for closed session?
We do not have any public speakers at this time. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, then our next item is item C1, Mr. City Attorney, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mhm.
The City Council will recess to a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D1, to confer with its attorneys. The matter being discussed is City of Oxnard versus all persons interested in the matter of the issuance of and sale of bonds for the purpose of refunding certain obligations owed by the City of Oxnard to the Public Employees Retirement System under the Public Employees Retirement Law, and all proceedings leading thereto, including the adoption of resolution number 15543 of the City Council of the City of Oxnard, authorizing the issuance and sale of such bonds, and authorizing the execution and delivery of a trust agreement and related documents.
Okay, thank you, Mr. City Manager. And with that, we'll be going into closed session and we'll be back at 6 p.m. for the ceremony items. So we're going into closed session and we'll be back. Thank you. Back from a closed session, and before we start opening ceremonies, Mr. City Attorney, do we have any announcements to share at this time?
Thank you, Mayor. There are no reports out of closed session this evening.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do you have announcements to make?
Yes, I have an announcement. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54952.3, each member of the Housing Board of Commissioners present will receive a $50 pay for convening this meeting. I'd also like to add that Housing Authority Commissioner Jose Andrade has joined the meeting as of 6 p.m. today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So before we continue, let's go ahead and follow me with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence for all the horrible things that are happening across the United States. Please follow me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our next item, and I'm going to keep standing here, is we have Diego's, okay, we're good now. We have a presentation. This is a presentation accommodation for Oxnard High School boys varsity basketball team. And can we have Principal Richard Reyes is here? Principal, I hear from Oxnard High School, and also the coaches, and also the Oxnard High boys varsity team. Come up here to the top. Let me see what. Thank you. Hi, how are you? Welcome. So really, it's an honor. I might understand that we also have Shirley Pirtle. Shirley, are you here? Come on up. So this, I'm going to read this. This is congratulations to Oxnard High School varsity boys basketball team for being recognized by the California Interscholastic Federation Southern California Section 2021-22 Academic Awards Program for the sports varsity of boys basketball. This award is not judged by the wins or losses on the respective sport field, but instead is determined by a compiled grade point average of the entire team, which is a 3.75. Put this hands together. You know, they always share. I've always believed that the key to success is an education. The key to success is an education. And next young man, you prove that. A combined 3.75 is just fantastic. So anyways, Shirley, where are you? Shirley, you're the one that brought this together. But before I'm going to make the presentation. I'll have you say the last word. How about that? Don't believe that.
No, don't say anything. They did all the work.
But you're the one that reached out. Yeah.
They deserve everything.
Yeah.
Recognition.
But
Even from the.
Okay. Anyway, Martha called me up and says, this young lady, Shirley, she really wants to bring the team over. And I said, Martha, what do you mean bring them over? This is 3.75. This is a combined 79. Oh my goodness. I lost 2 points or 4 points. So anyway, we have some accommodations, and I'm going to read one, and I'm going to have the city council help me put this down. This certificate of accommodation presented to Donnell Aber. That's you? Okay. Whereas oh, really? He couldn't make it anyway. We'll read this one because he's not here. Whereas the Oxnard High School varsity boys basketball team won the 34th annual California Interscholastic Federation Southern California section for the academic. And whereas Donnell, he's not here today, was part of the Oxnard High School varsity basketball team and achieved the highest cumulative grade point average of 3.79. And I dropped to 4 points. This is fantastic for the first time. Oh, good. Now, therefore, the City Council, City of Oxnard presents a certificate of accommodation to Danielle and the rest of the young men here today for his dedication to excel in classroom. Hereby extends and best wishes to the success of the future endeavors for everybody. And this is signed by the mayor of the City of Oxnard. So thank you so much. But we're gonna hand out, but before, Coach, you want to say, anything?
I just want to go ahead and congratulate these boys once again. It was a tremendous season. Over our winter season, we went 21-5 and won league for the third consecutive year. Not only were they kings on the court, but like the mayor said, they were kings in the classroom. 3.79 among the large schools in our southern section. That's over 600 schools, and they were number one. 600 schools, and they were number one. So they were kings on the court and kings in the classroom. So we want to commend them once again. Thank you.
So we'll start off with Councilmember.
Thank you. So although they may not all be here, we have a good representation. So I think we're just going to go ahead and read off the names so that the city hears the names of these outstanding students. So I have Jeff Staniland, the coach, head coach. Okay. And Donnell Aber.
Coach Henry Lobo. Coach Richard Collins. And I would just like to say, played a little bit of high school sports. It was not easy keeping the grade points up because the coaches punished you if you didn't keep them up. Guys, this is tremendous. A lot of people knock Oxnard. This is tremendous.
Congratulations, gentlemen, and I'm really glad to see they're putting Miracle Grow in the student lunches, so it's had a good effect. Coach Portis? Hey, we got and Bobby Barajas.
Okay, before I hand it over up here, we have Chris Hurdle. Chris? Congratulations. And then we also have Randolph. Not present, okay. And then
I have Alan Hampson and Dylan O'Neill.
All right, I have EJ Gomez. Great job, EJ. And then Dominic Contreras. Congratulations.
and we have a couple more here. We have Lucas Riam. Lucas, not present, okay. And then we have Jake Terrell. Oh, hey. Congratulations. And then, of course, then we have Reese Wilberg. Not here, okay. But I really want to thank you again, as the councilman mentioned, I still say the key to success is in education. You guys have proven it. And we always talk about our youth, they're doing X, they're doing Y, but I think we're in good hands. Coach, you've done a really, really good job. And I was a Yellow Jacket 200 years ago. So put it together for the Yellow Jackets. Thank you so much. Thank you, Coach. Okay, we'll walk this way. Thank you, guys. Oh, taking a picture?
Thank you.
They need wide angle.
Before we leave, one hand for Shirley. Thank you for bringing the kids. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Some of the guys are so tall, man. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much. It's really so great to see our young individuals, really help us out. And we're in good hands here for the future. And they're just voting nature next couple of years or maybe years or so forth. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you. Mhm. Our next item is, this is items not in the agenda, items not in the agenda for our city council. And we have several speakers. We're going to start off with Steve Sutler, followed by Lawrence Stein. Steve Sutler. Steve, you got 3 minutes if you're with us.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Suttier is not available for public speaking at this time.
Okay, we'll set him aside temporarily. Next speaker is Lawrence Stein, 3 minutes.
Good evening, members of city council, staff, and the public. I'm getting tired of spending all this money and having taxpayer money spent for services that we're not getting. A case in point is water. We are paying $14 million a year on the Great Water Program to subsidize the people of non-potable water. $14 million a year, we're being charged between $15 and $25 each on our water bill, and we're not getting the water. There've been no plans in the budget for the capital improvements to expand the water program from the 7 skids to 21 skids of water. Again, there are no plans in the capital improvement project for the next 5 years to develop our expanded water program. Even though we've been in drought for 5 years, and the fact that wells were promised to us back in 2012, when the Great Program was actually implemented, we're still paying for water we're not getting. Police service. How many calls do I make to have a police officer show up when we had explosive devices going off in our neighborhood? I know the police department doesn't show up for those services. The police department takes half a general fund budget. We can't get police officers to show up for service. If I'm having this problem, how many other people in the city are having this problem? We have several hundred police officers assigned in the budget, in our general fund budget, several hundred police officers, and we can't get police officers to show up for service. I call for service. I call dispatch for services. And I ask, well, is there an officer in the neighborhood? There are no officers in the neighborhood. We'll broadcast, though, to let people know that we have explosive devices going off in our neighborhood. Well, what the heck? How come we can't get police protection? They're taking half a general fund budget. We can't get calls for service. We have issues with specific plans. We've had specific plans approved for decades. And the city attorney's office and the city development service cannot finish the specific plans that have been approved. Millions of dollars have been taken from people buying their homes, going towards specific plans, developer fees. Specific plans will be developed. But how come all this money is spent by homeowners buying the
30
properties
seconds.
and specific plans cannot be completed? For example, we have a specific plan called the Northeast Community Specific Plan that called for a fire station. The fire station was never developed after 20 plus years after the homes were built. It just happened 4 years ago. They decided not to build a fire station. But again, the homes are built and specific plans called for our fire station. No fire station was built, nor was a park. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Cindy Hoekstra. Cindy. I'm Cindy, 3 minutes.
It's been a long time since I stood here.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Zaragoza and members of City Council. My name is Cindy Hoekstra and I live at 506 Glenwood Drive. I'm here tonight representing myself and the 40-plus other residents on Glenwood Drive. I have a signed petition from the residents whom live on Glenwood Drive between C Street and F Street. We are respectfully requesting your help to find real permanent solutions to the ongoing speeding and parking problems on our streets, as well as Hazelwood, Fernwood, and Ivywood. While their names are not represented in this petition tonight, signatures can easily be gathered if necessary. This petition does not just come with complaints, but what we believe are viable solutions as well. There are solar-powered digital speed limit signs, additional traffic service assistance, a speed hump, center striping Glenwood from Oxnard Boulevard to F Street, and a study to paint curbs red on the ends of our alleyways on F Street at Hazelwood, Glenwood, Fernwood, and Eastwood to prevent dangerous driving conditions while exiting our alleyways. In addition, I've been asked to mention the residents of Eastwood and Fernwood who also suffer from parking issues with relation to the school and dropping off and picking up their children. Why this petition does not represent this issue, it should be dealt with as well. These are real ongoing quality of life issues that have only gotten worse, not better. And we're seeking real permanent solutions to problems that have been overlooked and brushed off for far too many years. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Cindy. And we'll give a copy to our traffic engineer and our public
Thank
works
you.
director. Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Hoffman. There we go.
Hello. Thank you for your time and let me speak today.
Thank you.
My name is Gerald Huffman and I moved here a couple of years ago. My wife and I bought a house in Oxnard Shores and we purchased a decking company here that's been almost 20 years. They built over 100 decks. And after we bought the company, we went down to the city planning and building department, met with them, created a smooth transition. We started taking orders. We met with the department 4 times, went over drawings and information to be submitted. That was approved. We started taking orders. And some of these orders have sat there for almost 6 months with no response whatsoever. We've called, emailed, been to the counter numerous times. Today, we just started to get some stuff out. Some of the answers that we've gotten at the counter were there's no money to send your projects out to a third party to get reviewed. We asked why some other contractors were getting put ahead of ours. We thought the numbering system should be honored. If we turn in a project for a homeowner, shouldn't that be processed in the time that it was turned in versus some other project? I know that we're not building 100-unit homes here, but we do believe that we, bring something to the community. All of our employees work here. We've set up a warehouse here. We've made a significant investment in equipment and people. And then today we're also told that the rules are changing, that they're shorthanded. And so that all of the projects that we've turned in, 11 at this point, now have to be redone. We have one deck that is falling into the seawall, off the seawall into the water. We've petitioned twice to do an emergency repair. We're not allowed to. And then one was just a basic handrail repair that was falling into the water, the same response. We're a contractor here that we think, we're trying to follow the rules by going down and getting the permits. If the building and engineering department keeps changing the rules and then not processing them and then in a timely order or ahead of somebody else, it's just not fair to our business. I'm not here to complain. I'm just here is that, I've talked to a gentleman named Vito twice, to his assistant, and I was promised that somebody was going to call me back and work this out. Nobody ever called me back. I've left several messages for a Jeff Pengelly, the same issue. I've been at the counter asking for somebody to come out and help us in the same issue. Now the homeowners feel like, what is it that you've done or what can you do? We can't quote a project and then 6 months later, not even know if it's going to come out. The prices have changed. The environment's changed.
20 seconds.
I get the fact that, they're overwhelmed right now, but there should be some fairness to the system.
Mm.
And that's all I'm asking. And I just wanted to be heard for that. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you. and I appreciate
And
that.
awesome job with the basketball team.
And
Thank
we're
you.
working on that too. And Vito's listening to you, and I'm sure we probably meet you out there and you can share additional information with him. Thank you for sharing today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Luciano Morales. Luciano. Mhm.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Mayor and members of City Council. Appreciate the kind words you had about young people earlier. But with that being said, my name is Luciano Morales, and I'm the founder of GoGo Electric. GoGo Electric seeks to reduce public dependence on cars by offering an affordable, accessible, and sustainable form of personal transportation. A family wants to go on a nice beach vacation and decides to make their way to Oxnard. They took the train here and have no other forms of transportation. The mom finds a killer breakfast spot on the harbor by the name of Miss Olson's, but finds that the Uber ride would be upwards of $40. The dad spots scooters on the corner and comes to find that that same ride will cost him less than 10. Upon arrival to breakfast, they end their ride and get a notification on their app to try Blenders in the Grass at Seabridge and receive a discount code to use it at checkout. One of the major factors that sets us apart from our competition is that we are locally owned and operated and take pride in our community. Our scooters have a range of 30 miles with a maximum speed of 15 miles an hour and utilize geofencing technology to keep our streets safe. Geofencing technology enables us to deploy our fleet within a defined service boundary within 5 to 10 feet of that area, and we can set our ride zones such as low speed zones and no ride zones. And we have seen success of similar businesses in hundreds of cities around the world, and we are ready to bring that fun to Oxnard. Oxnard is the perfect market for GoGo Electric to thrive, and all we need to succeed is to have a local ordinance to bring the community together and provide a more affordable and sustainable form of transportation. When a family comes to Oxnard with no form of transportation and wants to get somewhere quick, efficient, and have fun, tons of fun in the process, they will remember GoGo Electric, and more importantly, they'll remember how beautiful, fun, and enjoyable Oxnard really is. Thank you. My name is Luciano with GoGo Electric.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. We are in good hands with the individual speaker. Okay, our next speaker is P.W. Robinson. Okay.
Mayor,
Mr.
Council?
Robinson. Mhm. 3 minutes, Mr. Robinson. Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
I'm P.W. Robinson. I'm an advocate for the homeless and the poor. I've written and talked about the topic I'm going to cover here many times, written about it on Reddit, Song of Santa Paula, on the Ventura County Reddit, if you want to read what I can't say here over there. Nothing I'm going to say is meant to take away from the work being done by local helping entities such as the Mission, Catholic Charities, Turning Point, the Lighthouse, local churches, and many others. Ventura County has had the highest homeless death rate in the entire nation for several years now. We also have the lowest shelter rate that I could find any place. It's easy to divide the coroner's death count by the local census figures and come up with a number or percentage of death rate. In 2019, we lost 82 homeless of a population of 1,682. San Francisco had 135 dead of a population of around 10,000. So a homeless person is 3 times more likely to be found dead here than in San Francisco. In a field, by the road, down by the tracks, far from human compassion. That's where the coroner investigates. The other night, 2 of our homeless were shot in the head while sitting on a bench by the train station. It's an anti-personnel bench. I went down there and looked at it, naturally with a hump in the middle, designed specifically to prevent the weary from sleeping. It's designed for just comfort. If they had a better place to go, like a shelter, they wouldn't have been there. If there were public restrooms anywhere other than at the train station, they might also not have been there. But because it's Oxnard, there aren't any restrooms open to the public and haven't been for several years. And I think you're proud of that. Last year, 145 more homeless died here, meaning that we are setting a new standard of depravity every year. That's Ventura County, not Oxnard. From 80 the year before to 145 last year. Who knows how many this year, especially if we're going to just shoot them in the head. You may be thinking, we're trying, we got a $40 million project going. We're building a shelter here in Oxnard for $40 million. Does anybody know how many shelters, beds, that's going to add to our current total? Anybody at all? The total number of additional shelter beds from this $40 million project down here downtown, the total additional homeless beds, 0. That's the number. We're replacing one with another. So Orange County shelters over 55% of their homeless. We shelter 8% of our homeless.
30 seconds.
Yeah, I wrote way too many notes. The only thing that might come from these murders is a possibility that an outside entity, a Dateline or a 2020 type program, might take a look at what has happened here over the past several years and ask why. Why of all the places in this great nation do we, Ventura County, hate the homeless so much more than anyone else? It's baffling. We could demand an accounting, but that's of the millions of dollars in homeless funding, but we won't get that.
Thank you.
We're going to need to bleed before we can heal. And that's what Dateline in 2020 can hopefully provide for us. Thanks
Thank you
for
so
listening. I
much,
appreciate it.
And our sincere condolences for the individuals that lost their lives. Thank you so much. And staff is listening to you.
One thing I do want to say,
Go ahead.
it's just this. Nicole Albiar and William Tenner.
Thank you, sir.
That's who died at the train station.
Thank you. Our sincere condolences. Marisa Martinez.
Good evening, everyone, from member of the council and Mayor John Zaragoza.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. I'm here to speak on behalf of my son that has mental illness. His name is David Martinez. Unfortunately, due to the death of his brother, the shooting in front of my home, which he has severe PTSD. It took him 10 years to get on housing through behavioral health, which I had to really corner them to get him a place. And now where he is currently living, my son wasn't even seen for 5 months by mental health. And I think this is a crisis that we're having with mental health right now, that they are not following up with certain people. And my son, 5 months, all they would do is give him refills and refills and refills. He gets in a fight with the guy upstairs that everybody is complaining about. I have people that already are complained on my phone, and I have their permission to speak to you, that they're willing to give you their information. And my son's gonna get evicted. They're not taking his rent money, which I tried to give because I am the payee for my son. They will not take, and this is through Cabrillo Economics. And I am just here also to speak. Oxnard PD has been very good with us. And I understand they have the CIT officers, but I also understand they're getting trained by behavioral health, which I feel that it's more important for them to take that 12 or something weeks of training through NAMI, which they are the experts, and which would help out a little bit more. I'm not whatsoever complaining about Oxnard PD, which they've been very helpful and I'm very thankful for. But I do feel that our behavioral health needs change and more willing to talk to the people, because there's a lot of people that don't have a voice. And we need for the community, for all
40
of
seconds.
us to come together. And I think we all know somebody that has a mental illness, especially during COVID. I saw that a lot of mental illnesses were going up. So I thank you and I appreciate everything, but I hope you do consider this of what I'm speaking about. It's very important in our community. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
And we're not exempt from mental health, or anybody is. But thank you, Marissa. And I've worked with you for many, many years. And in fact, the other day I had a meeting with Savet Johnson, our CEO, interim CEO, and she was in charge of behavioral health. And we are working with that because the county really is behind that, and they're going to help us out here in Oxnard. Thank
Yeah.
you for.
I wish that maybe you can relay that information to me, or maybe let me know when there's a meeting.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank
Madam Clerk, do we have any additional speakers and items that are in the agenda?
We do not have any additional speakers. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So then we're going to go on to item G. This is a report of the city manager. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as the slides come back, actually, sir, I want to address your comments about the homeless, if you want to stay for a moment. So first and foremost, it's your comparison with regard to the replacement shelter is actually not an apples to apples comparison. So the price tag for the shelter, number one, it's money that we've leveraged from foundation and state funding. It's not, the bulk of it is not local funds. That's number one. Number two, we are, with regard to the shelter portion, we are replacing a recently opened year-round shelter that we are utilizing a temporary space. So the replacement shelter portion of it is necessary to provide, I'm not having a discussion with you, I'm just commenting, is to supply and provide a much better facility for the homeless population. And that's the 110 beds. But the facility also adds some office space as well as 56 permanent supportive housing units. So that's what we're getting for that. So let's be clear about apples versus orange comparisons. That's number one thing. The other thing is, I would venture to say that most people in Oxnard do not hate the homeless. Most people in Oxnard do not hate the homeless. Most of us want to do everything we can. It is a national crisis. We are doing everything we can. We've made a lot of progress over the past several years. And while, no, you're wrong. We have. So, yeah, but it's significant. So I just want to be clear. And we did have a presentation to council not very long ago with an update about our progress on the homeless front. So we'd be happy to share that with you. So I just want to be clear about that.
Thank you.
And then a few quick updates. So on the pandemic front, so it's recently been announced that there are vaccines available now for children 6 months and older. So for all you parents and guardians and grandparents out there, that's the latest information with regard to vaccines. In terms of our city utilities, we are ending after basically 2 years suspension of late fees for utilities. So we're reinstating that, and we've been informing the public along the way. So again, this is just another notice. Also, something that is routine every year is the uptick in setting off of fireworks. And a reminder, in the city of Oxnard, all fireworks are illegal. Our public safety teams are doing, they are already working on issues and doing everything they can, and they will do everything they can.
Mr. Stein, please.
With regard to fireworks.
Mr. Mayor, and Mr. Nguyen, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No, but
Mr. Mayor, I think we need to caution Mr. Stein about disruption of a public meeting.
Right.
And ask him that if it continues, that there may be repercussions for his disruptive activity.
Mr. Stein, please help us out, and no disruptions, please. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you. Next is just a reminder, we've announced this already, but we've got a couple of exciting community meetings coming up with regard to the upcoming South Oxnard Aquatic Center. So both of these meetings are going to take place at the South Oxnard. I think that's the community center, right, Mr. Harrison? You're not paying attention. 200 East Bard Road. First meeting is Wednesday, June 29th, beginning at 6 p.m. And then a month after that, Monday, August 1st, also at 6 p.m. So we look forward to presenting the initial ideas based on the initial public input for the aquatic center, so that we can continue to get a little bit more public input, so we can ultimately finalize the design. Council member.
Councilman Turan.
Thank you. Just a very quick question. Mr. Nguyen for that's reflected here, just in case folks at home are thinking about this. It has the little QR code, the square there. It says RSVP today. Is it preferred that people RSVP or can they come just show up to the meetings?
Without
you-
RSV. Mhm.
If you can RSVP, that'd be great, so we can get a sense of the size of the crowd. But of course, anyone can show up. It's just going to be that it starts at 6 p.m.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you. Mhm.
And then next, as I hand this over to our Public Works Director, Mr. Michael Wolf, to talk about the ongoing saga of the California drought. There is recent activity here in terms of we have the winning design for the student art contest. As you can see, it's hard to see there. Well, we can see the students. And there's a piece of artwork attached to the placard that says, "Please don't waste water." So with that, I'm going to hand it over to our Public Works Director.
That's
And if we could get Mr. Fisher to hit the switches there, it would make it a little bit easier to read.
Yeah. Yeah, that is.
Setting the mood.
That's excellent, having their children participate. Michael?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council members, Michael Wolf, Director of Public Works. The ongoing saga, as the city manager said, is here. We talked about in past that this is a flexible and changing environment. On tonight's agenda is an opportunity for us to talk about any director's orders that we may have done as part of the emergency proclamation. We do not have any ratifications tonight, but I did want to let you know that we are working on a couple. And these are really directives or requirements from some of our providers, whether that's the state of California itself or through Met and Cayugas. So two things we're working on right now is that we need to change our duration, how much time folks have to water using irrigation outside from 15 minutes to 10 minutes. So we'll make that director's order and then we'll bring that back for ratification. The other thing that has been directed by the state is that no irrigation of non-functional turf, and we can describe that in detail in the director's order, but basically for commercial, industrial, and institutional zoned properties. So that is a directive from the state, which is a change or an addition to our additional restrictions. So we'll be adding that to a future director's order. I did also want to just make mention that we are tracking our operations and our water usage. It's only been 2 weeks since June 1st. But we are tracking in the right direction. We made some operational changes, plus the conservation that we're seeing from the residents and the businesses here in the city. So for the first 2 weeks, we're looking pretty good with our water conservation.
Fantastic.
And we have also established, and I've talked about this before, our water conservation hotline. I just want to make mention of that tonight, and I can give the number if everybody's ready. 805-385-3905. Again, that's our water conservation and education hotline. We've received 59 calls to date. Most of them have been asking about rebate programs and the such. There has actually been 9 reports of water waste that we followed up on. The other way to do this is also through our 311 app. We've gotten 140 water waste reports in our 311 app since March. So 2 ways to report and help us get eyeballs out there on water conservation.
Can you give the phone number?
Yes, sir. 805-385-3905.
Mr. Michael, quick question, and I know you've had a lot of questions later on. My neighbor asked the other day, can he water, say, 5 minutes before 9 a.m. and then another 5 minutes after 6 p.m.?
So we do have, there's 2 parts to that question. We do have times of days that we are asking folks to water, and that's the times that you mentioned. And you have 10 minutes cumulatively. So 3.3 times 3 or 5 and 5.
Whatever you want. Okay.
And some folks will say, folks that deal a lot with landscaping may say that doing it in those kinds of operations where you don't do it all in 10 minutes helps with soaking in the water, helps from avoiding the runoff. So if you do have a very sophisticated system, you can certainly set those up to do 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes over a couple hour period.
And the reason he was asking that is because he says he's very conscious of a neighbor's reporting him if he's doing X or doing Y. He says, as I want to do 5 minutes in the morning and then 5 minutes after. But again, I understand it's going to change after the the change of time, for till 5 o'clock but you'll probably mention all that later on.
Right. So in our current resolution, we talk about the times, and I want to say it's 9 to 6. So 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. is when we
Yes.
say do not water. So looking before 9 and after 6 p.m. And then when the time changes later this year, that'll go 9 to 5 typically. So.
Councilmember Sharon.
Thank you. And just a very quick thing to Mr. Wolf, regarding our directives to conserve water. I had a resident of District 2 ask me, another person told me that we don't have to actually adhere to the once a week and the city's not really going to do anything about it. We're just doing it because the state said we had to do it. Would you mind just kind of clarifying exactly the situation we're in and that this is a real actual directive?
Yeah, so a couple of things to that. We do have folks out there. We actually asked most of our staff across the city to help us report those things, not to engage in the conversation, but report those to our water staff, and then we'll reach out when we do receive those reports. So there is follow-up, and there are repercussions for not meeting the requirements. But this is a directive. In fact, the staff report we wrote back in May talked about the potential for penalties. And so if we don't do some of these things, hit some of these targets in the interim, we could be talking about penalties. Actually, in the longer run, if the state and Cayugas and Met don't see the reaction that they anticipate, they may be putting further restrictions on us, which would go for 0 outdoor watering days and then even higher penalties come later in the year.
And then we all pay for it.
Correct.
I want to add as
City
well
Manager.
as, because we've seen in the region around us and south of us that citations have already been going
That's
out,
right.
as well as those flow regulator devices. So we would like to avoid having to enter that territory as much as possible.
And we do have a real serious problem with water. People need to understand that and I really like your signs that you have out in the highway saying there's drought conditions, please help us out. And I think it's important that we all follow the rules because it's a life-saving item. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Mr. City Manager. Okay. Our next item is item H, and this is council members. What? On this item, I don't have a. Okay, do we have a speaker card on this? I don't see one. Okay, you got 3 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, staff, city council, the city says that we're concerned about our water shortage. If we're so concerned, how come a pipeline was not built from our water facility on Perkins to Procter & Gamble to convert the potable water they are using to using non-potable water? They're using enough water to provide water between 6,000 to 8,000 homes. They've not done this in 10 years. The city says we're working on and worried about our water. We're not worried about our water. We keep approving more and more housing. More housing. How the housing not use water? We got 1,000 units here, 1,000 units there. We keep approving more housing and we have a water crisis. Who's going to use the water? Well, the people in the new housing. We have issues with the GREAT program. 10 years. It was approved. In 2012, the GREAT program became operational. The GREAT program in 2010 was promoted to the city council to be the backbone of our water system. And the city council has sat on its backside, staff has sat on its backside. I don't know how many public works directors we have gone through, assistant public works directors we've gone through, and we have not built the water system. We're in a drought. We've been in a drought for 5 years, and the city is sitting on its backside. Finance is not financing or promoting the money for capital improvement projects, expand the GREAT program. We need the water, but staff is doing squat. The public works director is doing squat, and even worse, the city manager, who's been knowing about this issue, has been doing squat, as well as city attorney. The city attorney knows that we're supposed to be getting water, and the city attorney says no.
Mr. Stein, address the chair.
I am addressing the chair, sir.
The chair.
I'm addressing the chair.
I'm the chair.
You are the
Please.
chair. I'm addressing you, sir.
Look, listen, sir,
And the city
otherwise,
council
we're
has
gonna
not
stop
done
this meeting.
squat regarding the water.
Address the chair, Mr. Stein, please. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Again, the city council and the mayor has not done squat in 12 years. We have not allocated any water to expand the GRAPE program, the water to use that we're paying for. We ratepayers, 40,000 of us are paying for debt service on this program. You're not doing anything about it. You're giving the water to the farmers and the farmers aren't paying for it. We're paying for the water and we're not getting it. Thank you very much. Be honest with us. Tell
Thank
the
you.
truth.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Chair, do we have another person here for items not on the agenda, Mr.? I can't read the writing at STFI. F1, I'm not sure if, can you see? And let me see. There's two of this, Larry Stein, there's three of the same, Larry.
What's the question, sir?
This is for items not on the agenda. Oh, this is consent. Consent, okay. Okay, our next item is item H. This is for the council members and legislative members, if any brief announcements they might have, and also any items that would like to see in further agendas. We got 3 minutes. Council members. Councilman Tran.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mhm.
I just have a couple of really quick updates. I do have to start with neighborhood council meeting that I went to back in May for Carriage Square. At our last city council meeting, I inadvertently failed to mention that I had gone to that, and it was their first meeting since the entire pandemic. And they had a really great turnout. Most of the cafeteria was full, and Ms. Hoekstra, who spoke during public comments, was there as well. And so I do want to give credit to Carriage Square Neighborhood Council, and then congratulate all of their executive board members who were reelected in their meeting. And also, while I'm on the topic, thank you to Ms. Hoekstra for bringing this petition and information forward. That was an item that was discussed at that neighborhood council meeting, and I appreciate our public works director following up with her after her comment. Next, I went to the Sierra Linda Neighborhood Council, and that was their second meeting since the pandemic. And they had a full room at Sierra Linda School, and it was a really great turnout. I think it was around 30 people were there. And we had Corporal Valenzuela, who gave an update on the crime issues in their neighborhood. I think there was 3 issues they discussed, and just statistically very good numbers, very low for their neighborhood, and people were pleased to hear that, and very community-oriented neighborhood. And then also on their agenda was me giving an update on some improvement projects that's happened in Sierra Linda and what they can expect, as well as some areas of interest that they had brought up at their previous meeting, and what their potential options are and staff they can have for future meetings to discuss that and see how they could approach having those improvements come up. Then last week, I attended the River Park Neighborhood Council meeting, and they had their election, and congratulations to their new executive board. They do have a new chair and vice chair, and then their secretary and treasurer returned, and I believe most of their members at large returned as well. So congratulations to all of them, and thank you for their service, and thank you to all those who came to the meeting. It was maybe 60 people in attendance on Zoom, so it was very well attended meeting. Then I do have a request for future agenda item, and hearing from Ms. Martinez, who was here earlier for public comments. I have spoken with Supervisor Ramirez about this. I'm hoping in the near future, perhaps after our legislative recess, we can work with the County of Ventura to have an appointment item on our behavioral health department and the services they offer for Oxnard residents, specific to substance use services and mental health services. And really looking at that similar to the item we had with the VCMC and our trauma care system. I hope that we can get an update on those specific services for behavioral health that are offered to Oxnard. So that would be my request on that. And my last comment is I do want to thank all the speakers who are here tonight. And I have to give compliments to Mr. Stein. I don't think my arms would be able to be up that long holding the sign. I don't have that much upper body strength. So kudos to you, Mr. Stein. Thank you for coming as always.
Okay, Councilman Madrigal.
Thank you very much. Been somewhat busy over the last 2 weeks. First thing, I had the pleasure and honor to attend some of the promotion ceremonies for the local middle schools. I had the opportunity to go to Chavez School and Kamala over the last week, actually. And then at the end of last month in May, I had the privilege of going to McAuliffe School for their STEAM night. And it was wonderful turnout by the entire school, where they had tacos and ice cream for parents and invitees. So it was a wonderful turnout on that. And overall, as school is ending, a lot of people have been looking for a place to put their kids, the camps, summer camps. And what I've been getting is a lot of good reviews about the camp that the city provides and about how wonderful it is. And I've gone from parents that they've been going to this summer camp for years. And I heard that it's actually a hard ticket to get. Great job to everyone involved in running those summer camps. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Andrade, you have anything to say? Nothing. Come Perrello.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to all the people that have come to speak tonight. Recently attended the Dunes Neighborhood Council meeting. They unfortunately did not have a quorum, but there was just a general information meeting. Tremendous amount of information was shared. Had the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, there's an opportunity, especially if you're a senior, myself being a senior, you can get a discount ticket. You go to the downtown movie theater and they have Foreign Film Festival. The films are shown one night, one day, afternoon and evening. The most recent one was called The Duke. I hope that people listen and check it out on the internet. Tremendous movie. According to the organizer, the biggest crowd they've had at that movie in the afternoon showing. It's an event that the city should, I think, somehow, I understand it's a private business, but this kind of information, I think, is no less important than taco festivals or salsa festivals or any other kind of thing to put in a utility bill. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there's an opportunity to really see some classy stuff. It's not car crashes and explosions and loud music, really classy movies. And I'm not talking opera type stuff. I'm talking about real human life movies. Had the opportunity to attend the Juneteenth and again, met an individual, a mother who lost her child to murder, an attorney. She's come in the past to speak at this council weekly, and she has stopped. She's asked if I would get involved in something to do with guns. And I told her I would. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I did tell her I'm not going to simply stand up and have my picture taken for lip service. There needs to be something. And she told me, she said, that may be what happens, but it opens up a door. And when you open up a door, it's up to everybody to step through, to work together to see if something can be accomplished. The fireworks, I appreciate the city manager's thing about the fireworks. I don't know what more the general population wants the police to do. It's been reported. An individual was killed doing this a few years ago, died from a stupid stunt with fireworks. We've had individuals lose part of their hands, and it doesn't seem to stop. The other night, I would have thought I was at Dodger Stadium on the 4th of July. There was a tremendous explosion in certain parts of the neighborhood. Questions that I've been asked about. With respect to the people that want to use the beach, there's a very limited amount of beach that's actually in the city limits of Oxnard, but it's some distance away from the major part of the city. In the future, I'd like to have put on the agenda, what is the opportunity during the summer months when possibly people would be more interested in using the beach to run a shuttle to the beach? A shuttle to the beach
that would return every hour and a half, hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, but just something to come forward to be discussed on the agenda. And again, I'd like to address Mr. Stein's questions on the water. Mr. Stein has been an advocate for years on this issue. He has a lot of facts, but everything is not a fact. The city is doing a tremendous amount of stuff to try and take care of the water. We're trying to work with neighborhood cities, not having very much luck. If any of you know council members or wheels in the city of Ventura, please ask them, can't we join partners with Ventura? We'd like to take their outflow water and put it in our treatment plant and work an arrangement, not just take advantage of them, to work an arrangement to save their public a lot of money. They're talking about peanuts, the amount of water they're going to reclaim. We're talking about lots of water to reclaim. There's an opportunity there, but we have a neighbor across the river that it's not working out as expected. With respect to Procter & Gamble, when I first got involved in this before on the council, that was a big issue. But it turned out the price of building a pipeline to Procter & Gamble is something that is not talked about. Mr. Stein knows that. He and I have talked about it. I respect Lawrence Paul Stein, but he knows that. And to put those lines in is a tremendous expense for what we would be saving. And the biggest thing that will happen, and possibly one of the best things to come out of this drought, is it will expedite the state of California making it potable water. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just a fancy word for drinking water. The treated water is up to the quality of drinking water, but legally we can't do it. So there's a lot of things that are going on in the city of Oxnard. I'm not trying to put crowns or claims or drive nails in anybody here, but you have a public works department that's busting their butt. You got a deputy city manager that's busting hers to try to get something accomplished. And we got management all the way around trying to get something better for the city. And ultimately, unfortunately, if somebody wants to water 5 minutes in 5 minutes, at least my involvement with public works and sitting on these water boards, there's going to be a lot of dead lawns in the city of Oxnard, a lot of them. And I would suggest that instead of possibly just giving fines, we start going to something that makes an impression. People abuse this and they get fined. We put their name on a city's website. We put their name out there so the public knows who we're talking about is abusing the rest of the people in Oxnard that are following the rules and conserving water. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a few things to share about recently. I think some of us were in attendance at a mural unveiling over by Del Sol Park, which was really great and goes in theme with the comments that were made earlier about mental health. So it was just a great demonstration. I think Mayor, you were there as well as Council Member Madrigal. So it was just really great to see the community come out and support the youth who worked on this project. I believe they stated 2,000 hours were spent on this mural with the purpose of bringing attention to mental health as needed in our community. Additionally, I joined the mayor and Councilmember Perello at the State of the City presentation on Friday, which was really great to hear about all the great work that the city is doing, all the progress being made, thanks to the great support of our amazing staff here. And also joined the Juneteenth celebration again with the mayor and Councilmember Perello, and then 2 upcoming meetings and Councilmember Madrigal, yes, thank you. And 2 other meetings coming up. The Redwood Neighborhood Council meeting will be taking place this Thursday at 6:30. And then I also heard from the INCO who is working to activate the Blackstock South Neighborhood Council. And there is a meeting happening on July 14th at 6 p.m. at the Southside Library. So looking forward to these coming meetings, and especially the community meeting next week on the Aquatic Center that I'm very excited about. So thank you.
Thank you. And let me continue sharing on the information over at the mental health mural that we had in Colonia. I just want to thank, as I mentioned before, Councilor Madrigal, Perello, and Lopez, and our city manager too, that was there. One of the things that they had some murals that were really, really great, and one of the things that they had in one of the mural was a picture of of Mayor Zaragoza, right, Mr. City? But anyway, it was really, really great. And I just also want to thank the Housing Authority because they did an excellent job, and the Future Leaders of America did a good job. And also we had a councilwoman from Santa Maria that was there too. So it was really great. We talk about mental health. We believe in mental health, and Councilman Tehran, I think it's important. I used to belong to the mental health board, and it's good to understand exactly what services the county actually does. And also, I had the opportunity to attend the Juneteenth on Saturday for the freedom of African Americans, which is really, really great. Again, Councilman Lopez was there, and Perello, and of course also Tehran, were you there? In spirit, you were there. And Madrigal, and of course our city manager and staff. So, and of course, Mr. Harrison, always does a good job for us and helped us out tremendously. And also, it was an honor for me to share with the state of the city the other day with the West Ventura County Business Alliance, and what I said that I really mean it tremendously. I know that I always believe that 99.9% of the people like what we do, and a certain percentage that do not like what we do. So I want to thank our city manager. I want to thank our directors. I want to thank all the staff that are doing an excellent job for our city. And I think we're in the right direction of what we're doing. So, and again, 99.9% of the people like what we do, and 0.1 doesn't like it, but that's okay. That's part of life, which I think is important. So I want to thank you. Councilman Tehran, you want to share something else?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, for just a few additional seconds here. I want to echo something that Councilmember Madrigal had brought up, and I can't believe working in education that I let it slip by me that I want to congratulate all of our graduates for this year from all of our high schools and those who are promoting from middle school to high school or from elementary school to middle school. But I want to give a special shout out to number one to Oxnard Middle College High School. This is their first graduating class of that particular high school. And for those who don't know, it is a high school that is embedded at Oxnard College, and the students who attend also attend Oxnard College part-time during their school day. And they are graduating not only with a high school diploma, but associate's degrees as well, and a real head start on their post-secondary education. And lastly, a shout out to Israel Lozano from Channel Islands High School, who graduated and accompanied Council Member Lopez and I during the Christmas parade. He has an amazing story and is going to do amazing things as a young man from Oxnard, and looking forward to what he does next. So I especially wanted to give him a shout out and congratulations to him and his family. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so our next item is K1. This is a city manager. This is appointment of a member to serve in the city's Measure Citizen Oversight Committee. And the recommendation that the mayor and with the approval of the city council, make a following appointment of Measure O oversight to Naomi Valdez. Mr. City Manager, like to share anything else on this item, or Ashley, or no? So we need a motion on this item.
Mayor.
Motion by Councilor Varela, second by Mayor Pro Tem, and Councilor Tehran, you'd like to share anything else?
Just a quick discussion item. I just want to thank Ms. Valdez for wishing to be on the Measure O Citizen Oversight Committee. When the current or the former District 2 appointee stepped down from the position, she was the first person who came to mind, and I approached her and she was absolutely willing to do so.
Great.
I appreciate the support of my colleagues. She is a really, really great candidate for this role. And I think she'll do amazing things. And she's also involved in her neighborhood council. She is also a director with the Oxnard School District and does some really great stuff for our community. So thank you for support on this. And thank you again to Ms. Valdez for willing to do this.
Thank you. So please vote. Oh, Councilor Perello.
I think it's a great idea, and I believe they'll be supported. I support this, but I believe that when and if they are supported, they get a year's worth of the back minutes so they can go through and find out.
So understand where they're at, catch up. Thank you. So where are we? Did we vote? I need to vote. Okay. Oops, let me see. Okay, there I am.
Thank you. Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you so much. Our next item is the review of the consent items. And we have items 1 to 13. And before we continue, we have a speaker on consent item as Mr. Stein. I think you want to speak on the consent item 10, I think is what you put in on the consent. Yes, item 10.
The concern I have about this item is items being allocated for the AWTF. Right now, the AWTF is used solely by private entities. These private entities not paying for the services. They're being paid a nominal amount of money, not even covering the costs what produce the water. It costs approximately $3,000 per acre foot produced the water. We're only paying $350. So I suggest that the amount of money being used to provide services from the ADWTF do not come from the water fund, nor come from the general fund, but come directly from the people who are getting the direct benefit from the ADWTF. Again, the AWTF does not serve the residents or users of potable water. It serves only the users of non-potable water. Even then, the water is not being produced on a regular basis, but on a stop and go action. Again, Public Works has been running the AWTF for over 10 plus years, have not made the water available. The people are actually paying for the maintenance and services of this. So I recommend that the AWTF portion of these funds not come from the general fund, nor come from the users of potable water who are paying for this, but come directly from the users of non-potable water. Again, stop screwing us because we're being screwed. You're not doing anything about it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, any other speakers on the consent items? 1 to 13.
We do not have any additional speakers. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, council members, any items that you'd like to, Councilman Perrella?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. 3, 5, and 6.
Okay, go ahead, 3, 5, and 6.
Thank you. On item 3. Item 3 has to do with the citizen advisory, the bylaws, the efforts to develop an effective and efficient process for the CAGs. I support this wholeheartedly. I passed on my concerns to the staff. I did get the response. I just want to share it with the rest of the council. The concerns that I have with respect to this training, this item and the change of the bylaws, I'd like to go hand in hand with training. We did, as you will remember, the council members that were on the council at the time, we did have a problem with the sexual harassment. And we need to have ethics and conflict of interest training. And we need to have, again, as everybody's Brown Act training. I think it's important that we give them a fair shake. The people that take the time to step up and serve on these committees without gas money, coffee money, or any compensation, they possibly could step into a role of being on a council. And being on a council, if you're unaware of the process of the training that you get, you may walk into a bit of a quicksand. And I think that this training is the very minimum we can do to people that volunteer their time to help the residents of the city. That's my only concerns.
Okay, then.
Number
5.
On number 5, the concerns I had with number 5 were, let me get the number. Okay, number 5. Sounds like a fantastic thing, but it just generates a couple of questions. I believe this is money that we will be awarded, and it could be, if I'm reading this correctly, and I could be reading it incorrectly, it's one-time money. And if we're awarded one-time money, what are the plan? And there's basically 4 questions. I'll ask all 4 of them, Chief. It's okay. One-time money. What is the next plan for the following years, especially if we're buying equipment? And, what is the plan? Is it just simply a one shot in the dark? And that's a wrong, is it a one-time expenditure of money from a grant that will not cost us. But what are our plans the following year when we have this training and equipment? The second question. It states in the staff report that the truck and trailer will be, quote, available for any agency in our regional area. The reason I asked this question, I was involved with the city of Oxnard when Mr. former Mayor Tim Flynn and a member of the public, Pat Brown, really were incentive, and former Mayor Tom Holden were involved with the graffiti and getting the graffiti action program going. And there was a trailer that had equipment inside. That trailer and the equipment inside got thrashed pretty fast. And I'm just concerned that if we are going to buy this truck and trailer, how will the damage or the normal wear and tear be taken care of if we loan it or rent it out to any, as it quotes, be available to any agency in our regional area? And then I think the best question, and I've been asked a couple of questions about this. We're going to get a piece of equipment that will help us train and monitor people that we suspect of being under the influence. It seems to be mostly of drugs. Could be wrong, but it seems to be that. Is this going to be used simply at what would be called a checkpoint? We have random checkpoints, or will this be used as something where when we find somebody under what we think is the influence, we'll call the truck and trailer to come? And the reason I ask that is it a combination of both? Because if we have it standing by and waiting, are we going to have a person standing by and waiting? I think not, but I'm asking the question, get it on the record and get an answer. Is it a combination of that? And the money and the benefits that we will be using for this grant, will they go towards overtime pay? And the reason I ask that, nothing against public safety, but I want to get the biggest bang for the buck of any money we get, free or general fund money. And overtime, sometimes, in my opinion, is not the best bang for the buck. Those are my questions. And I appreciate the chief coming up to us.
Councilmember, before we continue, I know we all received a memo today and the correcting of the funding that we're going to get from 394,197 to 376,746. And my understanding that that's a correction on this item. And also we had another correction on K4, but so we're okay with the correction, Chief. Okay, just to make sure that we put it in the record that we're correcting the amount from 394,147 to 376,746. Thank you, Chief. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. To answer Councilman Member Perello's questions, there's 4 parts. Let me address these the best I can. As far as there being a next year's plan for this particular grant, this is an annual grant opportunity that's presented to us. And so we can elect to apply for this from year to year. But there is the subsequent year plan for this is that the grant is primarily made up for training as well as the purchase of some capital equipment. So the capital equipment will have a lifespan that it can be used from year to year for the functions that are stated in the report, which is largely, and I'll get to that question in a moment, but largely for checkpoints as well as for training officers from any agency from this region that wishes to participate in drug recognition expertise, which to add towards one of your questions is these other agencies will not be taking control of the DUI truck and trailer. It's our asset and they are welcome to come use it for that training at any time that we're doing these joint training operations. Just in short, when we have the drug recognition expert training, it's a 72-hour course. And then there's 32 hours of field work where they actually go out into the field. They contact persons that are under the influence of pretty much anything you can think of. And in the past, they would bring them to the station for the evaluation of their symptoms. But with this trailer, that actually lets them do that out in the field in a controlled, contained environment. So it's our asset. It'll primarily be used at the checkpoints also. We won't have somebody standing by to deploy that asset because a truck and a trailer just to stand by waiting for a DUI is probably not the best use of resources. And the last portion to your question about asking about the overtime. So what's important to point out with this is that training is a skill that you can invest in one time. It's like, as the saying, you can give a man a fish, or you can teach a person to fish and they'll continue to deliver each year after year. So using the overtime for training, which some of this training will be overtime. Some of it will be for tuition. Some of it will be for instructor fees. Some of it will be for per diem or lodging or anything that comes with the training. So there may very well be overtime in here, but it is an investment into teaching officers a skill that they can carry with them throughout their career.
Thank you for those explanations. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, what items?
Hey, Mr. Mayor, K4 and K5, and also K8 and K9,
4, 8, and 9.
4, 5, 8, and 9.
4, 5, 8, and 9.
And simply on 4 and 5, we did receive a
Right.
memorandum from Commander Ramon that based upon last minute information we got from our two partners in those items that adjusted the amounts of money in the staff report. And I would just ask that when a motion is made, we use the numbers provided by Commander Ramon as the authorization
Yeah.
for the expenditures and not and replace the numbers in the staff
This is-
reports with that.
For number 4, I'm going to share those numbers now.
Number 4 and number 5.
And number 4, we, the animal, we went
It
from,
goes from 2,669,598.97 to 2,590,577.
so we can correct it.
And
Okay.
then on K5, it goes from
394.
147 to 376,746.
And we'll make that part of the record when we vote.
Thank you, Mayor. And then on items 8 and 9, those appear to be Board of Commissioners votes, which is different than housing or council votes. I think it would include Commissioner Andrade.
That's the question I was going to ask.
So I would ask that we pull 8 and 9 out for a separate vote and do all the rest of info consent
Okay.
In one group, if that's acceptable.
Exact, right. Okay. You want to share additional on 4? Or was it 5 that you wanted to please do?
No, I think,
Just to-
I
just to
think we
correct-
have everything on
Just to
5.
correct those numbers. Okay.
Yeah, we have the numbers that Commander provided to us. We just, my request is we substitute those in to what was in the original staff report for approval. Would that be appropriate, Commander?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So then we'll take 8 and 9 first to start off with.
I had also number 6.
Number 6. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, number 6, it's a second amendment with a lease agreement for Union Pacific Railroad. And I sent my question in. Granted, it was a little last minute, but I have a question. We're removing the CIP, Consumer Price Index, from this agreement. And I asked this question based on a recent meeting, a public meeting of the Ventura Regional Sanitation District that I attended, where there were contracts let. And they were talking about how the interest rate is going up, things are costing more. Not necessarily them, but even our city. We want to buy a ton of concrete, it costs more than it did. So if we have a fixed amount of money, that fixed amount of money doesn't get us as much concrete or whatever it is that we're trying to buy, meat and potatoes, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm wondering, why did we remove the CIP? And I will give you basically the gist of what the general manager stated at a public meeting of the VRSD. They put a lower CIP of 4.5% to 5%. And when asked very strongly by members of the board, he said that in hindsight, it was a mistake. They shouldn't have put a limit on it. But we've totally taken it out of the equation. And it was in the equation before. I did get a response from Public Works Director Wolf. I appreciate it. It made some sense, but I needed to ask this because, again, this is another item that did not go to a committee, and I think it needs to be aired. What is the rationale on that? And the reason is I'm asking. The reason I am asking, I'm not trying to gouge anybody, but I want to make sure that my city doesn't leave anything on the table if there's an opportunity to pick up something on the table. That's the reason I asked it. Mayor.
Okay.
Good evening again, Michael Wolf, Director of Public Works. So specifically, or let's go generally to the question, we negotiated the best deal that we could with Union Pacific. They're the existing folks that lease it. It's a building that's not very leasable. And so this is one that we actually get a much more benefit, I would say, from it being occupied than vacant. And they actually take care of the maintenance and some of the improvements. And so the lease amount per month is actually increased from the previous lease. And this was the best negotiation process that we were able to do. We didn't want to lose and bust the deal for a couple percentage points. We actually don't have a cost associated with this, and the examples that Councilmember Perrello was giving are like service contracts where our costs actually go up, and therefore we want to make sure we cover those. There's no real cost to us other than actually loss. So if we don't lease it, we actually lose this money. So this is the best deal that we can negotiate. Mr. Yanis is on. He has maybe some more details about the changes in the actual lease costs, but that was the reason why we didn't include the consumer price index.
I'm satisfied with that. If you'd like the city engineer to address any more, go ahead, but I appreciate the explanation for the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Okay, so then we have two housing items, 8 and 9. Let's vote on that. Mr. Andrade, you'd like to make a motion on that? Yeah. Make a motion by Andrade and second by Councilman Lopez. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Okay, and then the remaining, we need a motion on the remaining, let me see.
Mr. Mayor, can we read those new numbers into the record for this?
8 and 9. Oh, I'm sorry, we already read, Mayor Pro Tem read the,
I read the numbers in the.
yeah, we did.
You're right.
Yeah, we did.
Right. I just wanted to read it now for the vote.
Okay,
We're not voting on it yet. Still doing 8 and 9.
We just did both.
we did 8 and 9. We're going to go into the new ones. You want to read those or go ahead.
Sorry, we did 9 also.
So we're going to do this. Go ahead and read those into the record and then we'll vote on
Two
it.
changes?
I'll save you the trouble, Commander.
Okay, he's got it.
Mr. Mayor, on
Go
K4,
ahead.
I would recommend we use the number of 2,669,598.97
And they-
in place of 2,590,577 and 13 cents.
13 cents.
And then for K5, I would recommend, in fact, this will be my motion to approve,
Is that correct?
that we use the number 394,147 in place of the number in the staff report, which was 376,746.
Oh, and we need a second?
Is
What?
it?
So it's the opposite of that.
Okay,
Okay,
we transpose it now.
50/50 chance I blew it, but
Okay.
I was close.
Okay,
No, you read the initial set. Now Commander Ramon's going to read the new set.
go ahead.
He's going to read it correctly. Go for it, Commander.
Go, Commander.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, the correct. So for,
The way I'm
Sorry,
reading it, it was budgeted at 2,669,598.97.
and the
And
correct
we're
amount,
reducing it to
correct amount is
the correct amount. Go ahead.
590,577.13.
$2,590,577.13 is the correct amount. Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
what he said. That's my motion.
Are we okay, Mr. City Attorney?
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could just provide the reason for the change. That would be helpful.
I'm sorry.
The reason.
I got a hard time hearing.
Oh, the reason for the change.
Oh, it's that it was a clerical error. I used the higher number by accident, which was the total number, including additional fees and charges that were meant for a different line.
And then the other one is an error, that was corrected.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're good now. So that was your motion?
Clear as mud as it was, that was my motion. Yes.
We need a second by Tehran.
I'll go ahead and second, but just for the record, the K5 for the CHP cannabis grant, the actual funding level that we'll be requesting is 376,746.42, correct?
That's correct, sir.
That's what was shared.
Or
Yes.
previously it was 396. Okay,
For the
Thank you,
third
sir.
time. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
And I did second.
Okay, please vote.
Mayor, who made the motion for the remainder of, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem followed by second by Tehran. Okay. Okay, our next item, L1, this is the.
Mayor,
Huh?
if I could please state the vote. I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulties with my voting machine, but the remainder of the consent items I have a first by Mayor Pro Tem McDonald, I second by Councilmember Turan, and the vote was 6-0.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right, so we're good. Our next item is, this is L1, the Finance Department's adoption of the fiscal year 2022-23 operating capital improvement budget. The recommendation is that the City Council adopt the following resolutions. A resolution of the City Council, the City of Oxnard, approving the operating capital improvement budget for fiscal year 2022-23. B, a resolution of the City Council, City of Oxnard, authorizing a full-time equivalent positions in the city service equipment effective, July 1, 2022, in accordance with the operating budget for fiscal 2022-23. C, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oxnard authorizing classification and salary schedules and approving the attached classification and salary schedule. And D, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oxnard establishing a financial management policies. And E, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oxnard establishing the appropriation of limit for the fiscal year 22-23. And F, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oxnard adopting a master fee schedule. And two, that the Housing Board of Commissioners adopt a resolution approving the Housing Authority's operating budget for fiscal 2023. And of course, this was in the Governance Committee 3-0, and this is a pre-measured and pre-recorded presentation. And Betsy George is here if we had any clarifying questions, or Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I'll summarize is based on the council feedback from the budget hearing a couple weeks ago. In this version, you have the two added fire inspectors, fire code inspectors in the fire department. Other than that, everything is intact with those two minor additions. And then with that, we are all available for questions.
And before we continue, we have one speaker, Mr. Larry Stein.
Mr. Mayor, member of City Council staff, I've asked questions from the CFO on this item, particularly as it relates to gasoline and fuel expenditures. Gasoline prices have gone up 50% in the last 4 months, but there have not been budget appropriations to cover this increased cost. So my question to you, and that was not answered, is what is the breakdown by department for gasoline, the current budget, and has that compared to the current budget being proposed? The budget does not break it down by detail. We see general numbers. The concern I have, the city has a tendency of spending money then asking for appropriations. What's supposed to happen is when a department exceeds a certain line item or a general fund, such as gasoline and maintenance, and that goes up 50%, the city should be coming back to us or to you, the council, and saying that this cost has gone up by X percentage and we need to have additional appropriations. If appropriations aren't being made, the money's supposed to come from somewhere. The question is, what services are being reduced compared to the current year's budget to the next year's budget? The gasoline and fuel costs have gone up significantly. Again, in the last 4 months, it's gone up 50%. Wants to say it's not going to go up another 30%. Gasoline was costing us $4 a gallon. It's not unforeseeable. It's going to cost $8 per gallon. We have police officers that use their police cars outside the city. They drive home. These officers drive to Simi Valley or Santa Paula outside the area. Who's paying for that additional gasoline? We are. We are paying police officers to drive city vehicles home, and that's costing us money. The other thing that happens, they don't buy the gasoline here. They buy the gasoline in other cities. Again, this is taxpayers' money from the city, and we're losing out on sales tax revenue because gasoline is being purchased by city employees from outside the city. There should be some ordinance or situation where city employees had to buy gasoline in Oxnard, so at least we get some portion of the sales tax revenue. Again, the issues of how gasoline and other expenditures are taking place where the money is being spent before it's being appropriated after the budget has been exceeded. Please provide the answers. How come the city keeps spending money prior to the appropriations of those monies when budgets are being overdrawn? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Stein. And at Governance and Finance Committee, we did have asked a question from our Public Works Director, especially for the highly used vehicles, and they are budgeting accordingly. And as time progresses, we'll adjust the budget accordingly. So that was answered in the Finance and Governance Committee. But I'd like to start off by council members by on the budget. I'm going to make comments on the budget here. And I think this is really, I just want to share that we continue from that. I believe this is probably, it's not probably, I think it is probably the best budget we've ever had. You know, we've had 1 year of a positive budget last year, and now we have the second positive budget, which is really, really fantastic. And we continue to make great improvements in our maintenance, in our trees, in our parks, in our potholes, our streets, our paving, our repairs of our restrooms and maintenance throughout the city. So I just want to commend our staff for doing an excellent job, because they continue to do the work. And as I mentioned before, we have 99% of the people that are satisfied, and we still have that 0.0% that are not satisfied. But I just want to thank you, Mr. City Manager, thank our staff, and thank all the department heads for the work that we're doing. And we have an excellent leadership here in the city of Oxnard. And in fact, I mentioned that the other day, we probably have one of the best city councils in the county, and probably one of the best city councils that I've had the opportunity to work with. We don't rubber stamp things, you know. As you can share, we really talk about what we're doing. But I just want to commend our staff for doing an excellent job to the for our residents in our city of Oxnard, because one of the things that was mentioned before, we're adding probably another $200,000 for inspectors that are really desperately needed by our fire department. But other than that, I think that I just want to commend our staff for doing an excellent job for the community. And as I mentioned before, as long as I've heard 99.9% of people saying that they're happy with us. We're not finished. We're going to have a roadmap with our priorities that we put together that we'll have options as we continue with it in the future. But I just wanted to share that before we continue going from there on. And with that in mind, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to resort back to a little bit of history when I did budget for a couple of different departments. And the budgetary tool that we get, and we still get the monthly reports that we're currently using, and it's a tool that the department director uses to manage their department, and to predict things like what's gas going to cost tomorrow or next week is probably impossible. So that's what gets left to the department director to see if gas prices are more than what they anticipated. How do they offset that by finding savings in other line items? And when you look at a budget that has 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 line items, depending on the size of the budget, there are opportunities to save in other line items that offset the losses in one particular line item. So if they go over a little bit in the one line item, it doesn't really bother me too much as a reviewer. What I look for is the bottom line of the total number of dollars that were assigned to that department in their budget. And if they stay true to that number and come in the black at the end of the year, then they've accomplished their mission, their job, what they were told to do. And if one line item is a little higher and another line item is a little bit lower, I think if we were to try and manage that, it would be micromanaging. And for council to sit here and go through each line item and tell them, oh, you missed this by $50 or you had an extra $100 here, that's a director's job. That's the budgetary person within that director's group that needs to be doing that. And I think that's the way the system is designed to work, the way it should work, and the way it does work. So I am comfortable with this budget. I'm very proud of the budget work staff has done. I'm very proud of our staff, our directors, and I have full faith in their ability that when they're given a finite number of dollars to utilize, that they will utilize it in the best way possible and come in under budget. And that may require that they not make a particular purchase they want to purchase. because they're balancing things out. And that's just the nature of budgets. That's the way things going. It's kind of like when we sit at home and pay monthly bills, and my wife came in today and asked when I was going to fix a hole in the drywall. And I said, well, it's not going to be this month because I don't have any money. It'll be next month because I allocate the funds that are available when they're available and do it that way. And that's essentially the same way our city budget works and has worked for as long as I can remember. And that's only since 1974. But, you know, I think our staff does a good job. And so I thank everybody for their comments, but I think this is an excellent budget. Ms. George, I think you've done a phenomenal job. Thank you so much. Mr. Nguyen and your team, thanks you to all of you. This is one of the better budgets I've seen in a long, long time. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Turan.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Pretty much took the words right out of my mouth and said it probably way better than I could. So thank you. The budget is a tool. It's a living document, and it guides us moving into the next fiscal year to know where we're headed and how we intend to get there. And we will address things as they come up and leave it to our professional staff to facilitate our budget as the year goes on. So that being said, I just also want to take the opportunity to thank all of our staff who have weighed in on this and done their part to bring it all together. I see all of our department heads are here, and thank you very much for the work you do and the teams that you lead. And as was also mentioned, Ms. George, thank you very much for putting this together. I feel very fortunate to be in my second round of budget season, and this is a really great looking budget. Before I came on council, there were some other budgets that were a little bit more painful. And as you and Mr. Nguyen had mentioned in your presentation, there's no bad news in this year's budget. And I think we're very fortunate. I hope members of the public know that fiscally, we are in a very good space, and we owe it to our staff. And we especially owe it to the voters for entrusting us with the additional revenue through Measure E. So thank you again to all of our staff, and please send my regards to your teams.
Councilor Madrigal.
Thank you very much to everyone on staff. Not only the people here, but the people watching at home, people who are probably may not be listening tonight, but come in to work every single day. First one here, last one to leave. To the people who may not necessarily get a thank you. You know, maybe it comes like maybe once a year, but it's a team effort. And for that, I want to thank everyone who was a part of this. At the end of the day, you know, things may change overnight, you know, economy is, you know, fluctuating, but for once we could say that things are, you know, for the most part looking good here. And that's something that, you know, a tough future economy nationwide would probably, we would be living in fear right now. We'd probably be expecting, you know, mid-year cuts. But just where we're at today is very different than where we were in December of 2016 when I came on board. So to that, you know, I want to thank everyone. This looks, you know, great. You know, could it be better? The answer is always yes. As with anything in life, you know, one is truly never satisfied, but the older one gets, it's not necessarily about satisfaction. It's about looking good for the next day. So with that, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Perrella.
I want to thank you. Thanks to the entire staff, those here and those not here. Everybody working for the city of Oxnard is greatly appreciated. Councilman Madrigal hit it on the head. Several years ago, Councilmember McDonald, Madrigal, and myself were the only ones still here. It was bad. It was really bad. We didn't know what was going to happen. We went through some extremely rocky times. And we're not there now. Councilman Madrigal's right again. It can always be better. You have a brand new Jaguar, the new model comes out. It can always be better. But this is a fantastic budget. We're in a heck of a good place, ladies and gentlemen. And a big part of that is the work that was done to get Measure E passed and the voters that voted. Your votes count. I appreciate all the work that's been done here. I'm proud to serve in this council. It feels tremendously better. And I think realistically, there's only three of us that can really say what it was like when you would leave these meetings before and how bad it was. And the staff that is still here, when your stomach would be going, holy cow, what's going to tomorrow bring? We have turned a major corner, and my hat's off to the entire management team that we have. Thank you. And this current council.
Councilmember Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. I will definitely echo the comments of everyone here on the dais, and extend my appreciation as well to all our leadership, our management, and all staff in the city who are putting in the work on a daily basis. And definitely glad to see a very positive budget, given the time that we're in, where other cities are not in the space that we are at, and given the history and what has happened in recent years, I wouldn't have imagined that we would be in a more positive place. So appreciate all the work going into this. And I know at the first hearing we had on the budget, there were the two additions that were requested and supported by the entire council for the addition of the inspectors in the fire department and the crossing guard program, which I know staff will be bringing back. So just wanted to bring that up, as this was also mentioned in our previous meeting, and I know staff is going to be working on that. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And probably some of you are wondering, why does he have a hole in his drywall? I had a plumbing leak. Plumbers are not very good at ingenuity, so he cut a hole in the drywall. And so the pipe is fixed. Now I got to fix the drywall.
Thank you. We want to find that out.
Yeah. I know you're all dying to hear that. So
let me share something else. I think it's really important that the public understand that we have funding for the general fund. We have funding for the utilities. We have funding for bonds and other monies that are mandated. So I just want you to know that we're not commingling those dollars, which is really important. And also the other thing is that the city manager staff is proposing a 15% reserve, which is really important, money in the bank for a rainy day, and also that our utilities that are at 25%, which is really, really important. Those utilities, the water, wastewater, refuse, are lifeline items, and that money is really extremely important. So I commend all the different departments for the general fund, the utilities, and other mandated funds that we have to maintain for our bonding, and also to make sure that we provide that information to the state and the feds. So again, excellent budget. Thank you so much for that. Mr. City Manager, you want to share anything else?
Thank you very much.
Good.
Mr. Mayor, I move the recommended action.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem. Second by Madrigal. Please vote. Commissioner Andrade? Yes? Okay, thank you.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Congratulations, milestone. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay, our next item is this is committee development item. Subject is agreement A 8481 and A 8482 for the 4 Caltrans relinquishment agreement and maintenance agreement and notice of intent to vacate easement. The recommendation of the City Council, 1, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager or designate to negotiate and execute a state highway relinquishment agreement number A 8482 by and between the state of California, acting through the Department of Transportation in the city of Oxnard. 2, authorize the city manager and designate to negotiate and execute a maintenance agreement for the access road agreement number A 8481 by and between the city of Oxnard and the Oxnard Coastal Investment LLC and the Ventura Land Development Company LLC. And 3, adopt a resolution declaring the intention to vacate its right, title, and interest in 38 or 38-foot wide utility easement totaling approximately 33,409 square feet along the frontage road in the two parcels located at 2700, 2750 North Ventura Road, and direct the city clerk to schedule a public hearing in accordance with the vacation procedures contained in the California Street Highway Code, Section 8300, to be held on Tuesday, July 26, 2022 at 6 p.m. at the City Council chambers. And 4, find that the project's exempt from the environmental review pursuant to California Environmental Act, CEQA guidelines, Section 15061B3. And this again did not originate in committee. And there was a pre-recorded item under Measure M, and we do have Mr. Vito for any additional questions at this item. Any questions? Well, Councilman Perrella?
I appreciate this item. I did send a couple of questions, Mr. Excuse me.
Water.
Yeah, holy cow.
There we go. We're not doing CPR. He wants a little bit of water. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I did ask a question about a little bit of water in a storm drain, and that's not my main one, and I appreciate the staff. But the question that I have, with these changes that are being made, and I'm asking this so that it's on the record, all the agencies that are involved, from city, county, state, and possibly federal, because of interstate commerce on the freeway, or FEMA with the levees, have all of them signed off on this so that, and the reason I ask, in the future, we don't find out that somebody didn't sign off and we have a big can of worms. To the best of somebody's knowledge in the city, have they signed off?
Yes, Councilmember Harrello. So we've been working with Caltrans on this. The property itself is currently owned by Caltrans. So there's been that coordination that's ongoing. In terms of the county and federal, they currently don't own, or their jurisdiction doesn't cover that property. So the interaction has been through the Caltrans division and the city.
So I can take from that answer, if there's an issue about right of way between any of these agencies, it's worked out or will be worked out. How does that work?
Yeah, so Caltrans owns the right of way. So we've been working with them, and it's been established that it is Caltrans right of way.
And so it transfers to Caltrans, and Caltrans will deal with the county if it comes to, say, that drainage ditch and taking care of vector mosquitoes or something.
Yeah, so basically what's before us is Caltrans is proposing to transfer the access road to the city. So the drainage or detention basin would remain with Caltrans. So we would not be taking over the actual detention basin.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your response. Thank you for taking the question.
Before we go to Councilman Tehran, the question I have is some of the transfers are going to be for perpetuity. And when they transfer, they property sell in the future, that's recorded in the deed of trust that they're supposed to follow all those rules.
So yeah, Mayor Zaragoza, are you talking about the access road itself?
Yes. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the agreement, the relinquishment agreement will be recorded. And so that will be the agreement that would be in place. And those would be the rules that would establish kind of the guidelines between the city and Caltrans.
Okay, so they then if they transfer properties, whatever, they have to follow whatever the trustee says.
So the property would become the city's.
Ah, okay.
So it'd be under our control.
Okay, Councilman Tehran.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Pearson, for the presentation. It was very informative. I know due to Measure M prohibits the public from seeing it live tonight, and we have 25 views. So I appreciate you sharing paraphrasing of what we have in front of us with Councilmember Perrello and with the public. A quick question, or just kind of looking for some information here for the public, is with 4 properties who is going to be developing in that area. Would you mind explaining, or perhaps the representative can explain kind of their role in this as well and what that looks like?
So I can start, and then we have Jonathan Cornelius with 4 properties here as well. Their role is they have the adjacent development that's taking place. That development was part of the River Park specific plan item that came before the council. That was approved by the community development director. That development, as it was designed, included, or the access road was necessary for that development to provide sufficient emergency access around the development. So the role that they would have in this is that when the city took over the ownership of the access road, the 4 property development would be responsible for the ongoing maintenance of that access road. So that's the relationship, and that's the other agreement that's before the council today. And then,
Okay, yes, that answers my question. Thank you. Did you have anything else to add, Mr. Cornelius? I think it was pretty much explained.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for coming tonight as well. Thank you, Mr. Pearson.
Thank you, council members.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a first by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilor Perrello. Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What? Larry, my goodness.
Mr. Mayor, I would ask if there's another outburst like that, that he be removed from the meeting.
Please,
forever.
It's not here. I didn't see it here. I did not see it here at all. There was a budget as last one.
It's one thing to ask to be heard.
Yeah, I know, but this
It's
is,
inappropriate to yell at staff or raise your voice and scream. He needs to be aware of that. It's unacceptable.
in the future, I believe that Mr. Lorenstein needs to behave, or else he won't be allowed to be in this council chambers again. So we are adjourned. Thank you.